qu'il n'y a pas qu'un seul pays qui sera à l'abri du changement climatique. Aussi bien depuis l'Antarctique jusqu'à l'Arctique, tous les pays sont menacés par les effets du changement climatique.
Intelligent viewers, welcome to Planet Earth, our loving home. From October 26th to 29th, 2009, the 31st session of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, was held in Bali, Indonesia. The panel is a scientific body that provides a comprehensive scientific view of the current state of climate change and its projected future effects on the environment, society, and the global economy by reviewing the latest data on the subject. For its efforts to raise public awareness about climate change, the panel shared the 2007 Nobel Peace Prize with former U.S. Vice President Al Gore. During the session, approximately 350 government officials and climate scientists from around the globe gathered to discuss the proposed chapter outlines of the panel's fifth assessment report, or AR5, to be published in 2014. The report is part of an ongoing series featuring in-depth scientific data on global warming that includes adaptation and mitigation options. Today, we'll present more selected excerpts from presentations made during the session and Supreme Master Television's interviews with participants. Chairman of the panel, Dr. Rajendra Pachari, discussed the importance of the panel's work in his address to the attendees.
We have to be aware of the fact that this body, which was established 21 years ago, has come to occupy a crucially important role and a very unique position in providing support for policy making and action in an area that clearly is going to become increasingly important. And given the fact that there's such a huge spread, an explosion of awareness all around, we would have to ensure that we meet the needs of human society. And that clearly calls for much greater attention to how our scientific assessment relates to and gets converted into social analysis of what human society is going to be confronted with.
In her remarks to the gathering, Dr. Sri Woro Budiyarti Harijono, Director General of the Meteorological, Climatological, and Geophysical Agency of Indonesia, underscored the need for humanity to take immediate action regarding the heating of the planet.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to underline that the global effort to cope with climate change and its variability will require the active involvement of all nations as well, and the active engagement of the private sector, civil society, and all human beings of different generations and background. Now is the appropriate time for scientists as well as policymakers to enhance effort to pave the way for incoming Copenhagen meeting. Climate change has already been happening and will continue to happen. It will not wait for us to act.
Rainforests play a pivotal role in absorbing atmospheric carbon dioxide and thus help mitigate global warming. Deforestation erases these invaluable carbon sinks.
Nous avons ce qu'on appelle communément le second poumon du monde, parce que nous avons le fleuve Congo, le bassin du Congo. Après l'Amazonie, c'est le bassin du Congo qui est un puits important de carbone. Et ça, c'est important. Il faudra que les gens respectent cela. Si nous, maintenant, on se met à tout déboiser, on arrivera à un moment où on n'aura plus de carbone. On prend le cas de l'Amazonie. L'Amazonie, bon, c'était, il n'y a pas longtemps, c'était une zone importante. Maintenant, les gens sont en train de tout décimer pour des besoins alimentaires, pour des besoins économiques.
Deforestation is increasing every year across the globe, largely due to animal agriculture. 80% of the Amazon rainforest that has been cleared thus far was destroyed for cattle raising. Sadly, trees are also felled to create land to grow animal feed such as soy. A staggering 85% of the world's soybean production and 43% of all cereal production are diverted to livestock.
The corn or whatever feeds livestock has impact on climate change, because in deforestation you're actually removing the soil cover, and in reducing the soil cover you're actually reducing the capacity of a particular area to absorb carbon dioxide.
To produce a half a kilogram of beef, 7.25 kilograms of grain, and 19,737 liters of water are necessary. Meat production is inherently inefficient compared to growing plants to feed humanity.
When you eat 1 calorie, let's say, of beef, you need 5 or perhaps 10 calories of vegetables to feed the beef first. So if you would eat directly vegetables, you would save in food production.
The feed conversion ratio and all of that is reduced, so you need more corn, more feed to get the same amount of output eventually.
Meat production and consumption drains an enormous amount of natural resources around the world.
This is now a well-known fact. Whether you talk about emissions of greenhouse gases, whether you talk of the use of land area, the extent of deforestation that takes place, particularly from livestock rearing, and for that matter, the use of water or food grains. Livestock production and the consumption of livestock products is extremely intensive in the emissions of greenhouse gases and, in fact, in the use of all natural resources. So I think we as a society would be much better off moving to something that would be far more efficient in the use of natural resources, because these resources are being depleted very rapidly across the globe, and we cannot possibly afford to continue along this trend.
Livestock is the single largest emitter of methane, a very potent greenhouse gas. It has 72 times the warming potential of carbon dioxide measured over a 20-year period.
The cattle, the beef, the sheep, they emit methane also, which is a bad gas for bad greenhouse gas. So having less sheep and less cows would probably save a lot on the emissions of methane. Of course, it could become a priority to diminish the emissions from cattle and from meat production. Yes.
C'est un problème d'éducation, un problème de mœurs. Donc, on peut changer les mœurs.
When Planet Earth, Our Loving Home returns, we will feature more from the 31st session of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in Bali, Indonesia. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television.
We come from very small Pacific islands, and we are among the first countries that would be already facing the potential impact of climate change. Our plea to the world is really to consider climate change as a reality and really try and all get together and reduce the potential impact of climate change. I think we need to change our consumption of milk and everything so that we are less and less dependent on livestock, and so if we have less livestock, in a way we save from the emission of all the greenhouse gases.
Welcome back to Planet Earth, Our Loving Home, where we are featuring interviews and presentations from the 31st session of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change held in Bali, Indonesia in October 2009. In the recently published paper, Livestock and Climate Change, in World Watch magazine, former and current World Bank environmental experts, Dr. Robert Goodland and Jeff Anhang, conclude that more than 51% of human-caused global greenhouse gas emissions come from the livestock industry. We had the opportunity to ask Dr. Pachauri for his thoughts on this very important finding.
Dr. Goodland is an extremely capable researcher, and I'm sure if he has come up with estimates, I would treat those with the highest level of respect. What I want to say is that the entire meat cycle is a great source of emissions of greenhouse gases. And I think we would be much better off as a society if we reduced and, if possible, did away with the use of meat, the use of animal proteins in human diets, because we would be much healthier, the planet will be much healthier, and we know that this is one very effective way by which we can bring under control the changes in climate that are taking place as a result of human actions.
Dr. Pachauri has spoken publicly on many occasions on his desire to see the world change its diet.
Over a year ago, I addressed a large audience in the city of Ghent in Belgium, and I spoke about the benefits of reducing meat consumption. I'm very happy to see that in that city now they have come up with a regulation whereby 1 day a week will be a meatless day. Sir Paul McCartney is a very good friend of mine. He and I are going to appear together at the European Commission in Brussels. We are going to talk about this movement to reduce meat consumption to start with by doing away with meat at least 1 day a week. So I think it's very important for us to move in that direction, because if we did that, then clearly it would be an extremely healthy change in lifestyles. It would also be healthy for the planet. This is the only planet we have. We can't go anywhere else.
Marc Gillet, Director of the National Observatory on the Effects of Global Warming in France, also welcomes a movement to adopt meatless days.
Yeah, I think it is a good move. Many people actually have health problems of eating too much meat. If at least they would eat less meat, probably they would have less health problems.
In many countries, the meat and dairy industries receive government subsidies. Dr. Pachauri advocates such practices be abolished.
Government subsidies must be removed because clearly they point you in the wrong direction. They create conditions by which externalities or external impacts such as emissions of greenhouse gases only increase. And I believe that we need to bring out these facts so that there's enough pressure on governments to see that we move away from subsidies, which incidentally only benefit some vested interests and some narrow sections of society. So I think governments must look at this objectively and look at it in its entirety, both in terms of environmental benefits and financial benefits that clearly would accrue if these subsidies were removed as quickly as possible.
For more details on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, please visit www.ipcc.ch. We would like to express our appreciation to all of our interviewees for sharing their thoughts with us on global warming, and to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change for its true service to humanity by informing the world about the rapid heating of our planet. Let us all follow the organic vegan diet, the single fastest and most effective way to halt climate change. May this life-saving way of living be adopted as the solution to our planetary crisis during the United Nations Climate Summit in Copenhagen. Thank you for joining us for today's Planet Earth, Our Loving Home. Our show airs every Wednesday on Supreme Master Television. Up next is enlightening entertainment after noteworthy news. May your life be filled with peace and grace from heaven.
For more details, please visit www.suprememastertv.com/PE.